In this video, we have analyzed narrative structure, characters, camera placement, lighting, color palette. Narrative structure. Maharaja's story starts slow on a lighter note with a little bit of comedy and a bit of confusion. But eventually, the patience of sitting through the films pays off very well. The film is like a slow poison that eventually gets to your gut. Film reminds me of three movies, A Wednesday, Kahani, and the classic Old Boy. For all these films, the first half starts very slowly and towards the climax takes a 360-degree shift. Maharaja is something along the same lines. A very well-written screenplay, the scenes skillfully intertwine the flashback and the present which the audience could hardly recognize while watching the film. It's towards the end or perhaps the second viewing that we realize the nuances in Anurag Kashyap's hairstyle and Vijay's black beard in the flashback and the salt and pepper beard in the present. Very brilliant use of inanimate objects like Lakshmi, the dustbin, to create an illusion of linearity in narration. When we see Lakshmi in Selvam's house under his bed, we are made to think that Selvam has stolen Lakshmi, and it makes us believe that the story is unfolding linearly. But it is towards the end that we realize that it was a flashback. Everything appears to be happening linearly. The climax takes the emotional graph of the film to another level. A climax can be a deal maker or a deal breaker. The audience can forgive everything in the film, but what they absolutely cannot forgive is a bad climax. And what they can greatly crave for a very unexpected, surprising ending, and Maharaja is just that. Something that we couldn't even imagine in our wildest imagination does happen in the climax. Character analysis. Many characters made a very different first impression. Let's get through some of these characters. Maharaja. Since the beginning of the film, the character of Maharaja comes out as a silent, mysterious man. Whenever we see Maharaja on screen, we feel that this man is hiding a storm beneath his silence. Towards the end of the film, we realize what kind of anger and rage he was camouflaging under his misguiding stupidity and stubbornness. If we look closely, what makes Maharaja's character so interesting is the slow buildup of the character. He is like a time bomb about to explode anytime soon. The build-up is for around 1 hour and 6 minutes. Throughout this build-up, Maharaja's character is shown as a submissive character. The people around him, be it his boss at the barber shop, his daughter disregards him, and the police officers abuse him. All these scenes make us think about when he will fight back. It is at this point that we see the outburst of his anger which he was holding until now. Dana. If we look at Dana's character, he is introduced as a poor hard-working mechanic who is wrongly beaten up by a car owner for a very petty crime. So we start to sympathize with the character, but later on, we get to know his other side. Nallasivam. If we look at the character of Nallasivam, at first he seems to be an innocent, cooperative police officer. As we progress in the film, we get to know the horrifying crime committed by him. By creating a positive impression of him, we couldn't have imagined in our wildest thoughts that he could have committed such a heinous crime. Virudarajan. He comes out as a cunning and corrupt officer. It is towards the end that we see a new human side to this morally corrupt officer. He understands the pain that Maharaj would have gone through. The writer and director very skillfully gave a very misleading first impression of many characters and later on revealed their other side. This is what makes the film more interesting. Camera placement. The cinematography of the film feels more realistic. Let's see how Dinesh Purushothaman, the cinematographer, was able to achieve this. Camera placement is very important while you are shooting, so in Maharaja, if you observe, most of the time the camera is placed at eye level. So by placing the camera at an eye level, it creates a realistic feel. The choices of shots that the director and cinematographer have made make the film more immersive. Lighting. If we look at this particular shot, the cinematographer directs the audience's attention towards the Maharaja character by creating a depth with use of lighting. So the edge light which is hitting Maharaja avoids him from merging him into the background, and the combination light and shadow on his face creates a depth and gives more three-dimensional feel to his face. If we look at the other character, the cinematographer has intentionally kept his face under shadow. Just by lighting the character differently, the cinematographer has directed the audiences towards Maharaja. Color palette. Throughout the film we see a desaturated color palette. Due to this, it creates a gloomy look. Most directors create a distinct difference between past and present color scheme where the director guides audiences through the timeline effortlessly. In Maharaja, if we look at the color palette, the director has treated past and present sequences under the same color palette, which makes it difficult for the audience to differentiate. So not treating past and present sequences differently creates an illusion of a linear narrative structure. Support us by subscribing to our channel.